Hello everyone, it is Dylan from Yugioh Everything. I hope you are having a Merry Christmas Eve. I wanted to put a video out on Christmas Eve, kind of give you guys a little treat, and this is a video that has been long overdue. Probably my most controversial series, but it is one that I really do love doing, and that is my Fantasy Duels series. This matchup was voted by you guys, and is the duel between Ryo Marufuji / Hellkaiser / Zane Truesdale from GX versus Kaito or Kaito Tenjo from Zexal. It has been a while since I've done one of these, and that is because I grossly underestimated how long it would take to finish the GX and Zexal mangas, while maintaining my regular uploading schedule and dealing with college work. Nevertheless, I apologize for the delay, and am glad to finally get back on schedule with this segment. In case you forgot, the way this works is I analyze what would happen if these characters versed in the anime, the manga, and then a quote-unquote expert panel filled with 7 people who play the game in real life give their thoughts on who would win if these characters played in real life. No plot armor or anything like that. Whichever character wins 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3 will be the Fantasy Duel winner. This is a very opinionated video series, and whether you agree or disagree with me, I still hope you enjoy, and leave your comments down below on who you think would win, Ryo Marufuji or Kaito Tenjo. Let's get right to it. I hope you guys enjoy. So who would win in the anime, and what would be a mouth-watering matchup between Kaito and Ryo? First off, I think it is hilarious that the most possible show this duel could take place in is Arc 5. Kaito plays a pretty big role in Arc 5, and thanks to this picture, we know Ryo exists in the Arc 5 universe. However, for the sake of this discussion, we are only going to look at these characters from Zexal and GX respectively, so we'll take a look at Kaiser first. Ryo started out as one of my favorite characters ever in Yu-Gi-Oh! During GX. I've always liked to think that Ryo kind of had 3 forms and stages of his character throughout GX. After he went pro in Season 2, he went on a horrible losing streak, went power hungry, became an absolutely vicious person, got his winning mojo back, and then was sick and pretty much a vegetable in terms of being able to duel by the end of GX. We would have to think about what persona Ryo would have during this duel, and since he was the more power-hungry, vicious Kaiser for a majority of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, that is the persona I imagine him taking if he ever were to duel against Kaito. In a clash between 2 titans like this win-or-die mentality could definitely help push Ryo over the victory line. After his duel against Mad Dog, his record is pretty spotless. In 9 duels, he won 6, he had 2 no results against Johan and Judai, and then he lost to Johan / Yubel, and he was killed off for the time being. The only negative aspect here is that the 6 wins were not against the most impressive characters. Fubuki Tenjo and his brother Sho are probably the 2 biggest names on that list, and neither of those characters have the reputation of being incredible duelists in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Universe. So now that we looked a little into Ryo's backstory, let's look at his opponent. Arguably a character that has made the greatest impact in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Universe looking back at the last 2 shows, Zexal and Arc 5. Kaito has always been one of the best, most consistent duelists in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Universe, but again, we are only focusing on Zexal. No cipher shilling in this video, sorry Kaito. Kaito dueled a total of 20 times, not counting flashbacks, and only lost once. That is extremely impressive. In fact, it's almost at Yusei level in terms of record. Sure, Yusei dueled more times than Kaito, but they both lost once during their shows and once in a flashback, Yusei to Jack and Kaito to V. A duel between Kaito and Ryo would most likely be just for power and for bragging rights. So here's where Ryo does have a slight advantage. He is a power-hungry character. His dueling was purely for the thrill and victory, whereas Kaito usually dueled throughout Zexal with a purpose, not really for the thrill of victory. He dueled for his brother Heart throughout the first half, and then he dueled for the Dragons and for Yuma and Astral in the Baryon War in the second half. However, there is one duel that really stands out to me when discussing this. After Kaito defeats Dr. Faker with Yuma and Shark, him and Yuma had a duel. And this to me is still one of the more impressive victories for any rival character in my opinion. I was actually shocked when Yuma lost this duel. Nothing was on the line but pride, and we were about 75 episodes into the show. Kaito pulls out a massive victory. Whether you like Yuma or not, whenever a character defeats the main protagonist, especially this late in the show, you have to give them props. So who's the winner here? Jeez, this is tough. I do believe that Kaito is the better, much more consistent duelist of the 2, but Ryo lives for these kinds of duels, especially the power-hungry one that we see for most of GX. I believe that if these 2 were to meet in the anime, Kaito would win. I'm gonna go with consistency over drive, but boy, I could really see this going either way, even being a no result, and I think it would be an extremely, extremely tight duel that, again, could really go either way. The manga matchup is a little tricky since Kaiser only duels twice in the GX manga. However, on Kaito's side, he is in my opinion noticeably weaker in the manga than he is in the anime. For starters, he actually loses to Yuma in the manga, which is something that never occurred in the anime. He also loses twice in 8 duels, which is a far less better ratio than his 1 loss in 20 duels in the anime. Looking at Marufuji in the manga, he is practically a god. He really only duels once and it's an absolute domination. Manjome wins the tournament that takes place pretty much the first half of the entire manga, defeats Judai in the finals, which was pretty surprising to me, and his prize is that he gets to take on Ryo Marufuji. Not much of a prize, honestly. Ryo defeats Manjome without taking a single point of damage. He was pretty much revered as a god of the school and even of the manga. I wish we got to see him duel a few more times. We know he defeated Edo before the manga started, but other than that, we have no other records of him dueling. So this might seem crazy to some people, but I am giving the manga win to Marufuji. Not only did Kaiser absolutely destroy Manjome in the only duel he was featured in, but he was just praised and built up the entire manga. While Manga Kaito is definitely a worthy opponent, Manga Kaito is not anime Kaito by any means, and while I don't think Marufuji would win without taking a single point of damage, I do believe that the hype is real when it comes down to it, and think Kaiser would be able to defeat Kaito. There haven't been many manga Yu-Gi-Oh characters that are written as prolifically as Kaiser was, and I honestly don't know many manga characters that I would pick over him, simply because of how godlike and untouchable he was written. Looking at it from the other perspective, he did only duel once, so maybe it is a little crazy for me to praise him that much. It's all opinions at the end of the day, but Kaiser wins the manga for me, and he ties things up at 1 apiece. Just like our first Fantasy Duels matchup, it comes down to the real-life deck styles once again. While manga cards were allowed for the Jack Kaiba duel, this panel of 7 awesome people voted and wanted manga cards prohibited. Therefore, the only cards that are allowed are the cards Kaito used in Zexal and the cards Marufuji used in GX. So building a deck with only the cards that are allowed, if 2 people of equal skill dueled in real life, who would have the better chance to win? Here is the panel. Please check out all of these guys and gals down below, and big thank you to them for participating in this. If you are interested in participating in the next Fantasy Duel panel, please feel free to shoot me an email. Anyway, let's see who would win in real life, and who will be the winner of the second Fantasy Duels matchup. Coki writes, considering Kaito is over-focused and anti-XZ's mechanics, facing an OTK-oriented fusion user as Ryo, he is in clear disadvantage, but Ryo has also fusion-centric exploits, but very few. His cards are way more generic. During the tests, the fact that they are using anime-only cards made me run 3 sets of tests, one with the ban list from their own exclusive eras and the other with the current ban list. In the era ban list, Ryo gets an overwhelming advantage due to limiter removal, future fusion, and overload fusion, and the fact that in the anime spell trap destruction is almost non-existent, DD Capsule is extremely abusable, but in the current formats, Ryo is incapable of overcoming Neo Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon and N62 Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon, who are extremely easy to summon without Floodgates and Solemns. Kaito's deck wins in all non-error formats 100% of the time. That's funny, because the opposite happens in the error format where it's absolutely impossible for Kaito to defeat Ryo. Considering only the anime, Kaito wins. Legendary Duels writes, in terms of raw power, Kaiser's deck wins over all the rivals, but in everything else it lacks. Kaiser's weaknesses are that he doesn't have any search power to search out his best cards, he doesn't have enough draw power to get his best cards, doesn't have any spell trap removal to get over his opponent's back row, and lacks defensive spells and traps to protect his life points and his monsters. In order to win with his deck, you need to get extremely lucky and get just the right cards in your hand to pull off a powerful move, and you need to hope that your opponent has no cards to defend themselves. Unlike Kaiser, Kaito's has tons of draw power, a lot of search cards, and has several defensive spells/traps that protect his life points from Kaiser's overwhelming power. Kaito's deck is just more balanced overall, and plus, Galaxy Eyes, Neo Galaxy Eyes, Star League Paladynamo get over all of Zane's powerful fusion monsters. Legendary Duels picks Kaito. Silver Prince writes, I put Zane and Kaito's decks up against each other many times. I concluded that Zane's deck is better. His monsters have very good effects that can power up other monsters on his field. His spell and trap cards are very useful for negating damage. P.S. I love your videos. Thank you, Silver, and we have one for Ryo Marufuji. If you want to pause and read the full thing, you're more than welcome to. Stardust Synchron writes, after quite some deck building, rebuilding, and testing against my friend, I've come to the conclusion that Kaito's deck would win this fantasy duel. If I had to choose the winner based on pure dueling skills, I would declare them pretty much equal, but since we have to split the decks from the characters, I'll have to give it to Kaito. His deck is overall way more consistent and can make its power plays way easier and with way less of a need for draw power than Zane. The winner, in my opinion, is Kaito. So halfway through, Kaito has the 3-1 advantage. Ryo would have to get the votes of the rest of the entire panel to pull off the win. Let's see if he can do it. David McElmoyle writes, so I've been testing out both of their decks extensively online, both against random players to find out how consistent the deck is, and with a friend to see how the pure matchup would go, and Kaito's deck is the winner in my eyes. Being XZ's focused, it has a lot more consistency than Ryo's fusions. While Ryo's cards like Limiter Removal and Power Bond are powerful, it is all up to chance whether they can be used. Kaito has the advantage over Ryo, also in that his cards are very archetype focused, allowing them better cohesion. Not to mention the fact that Kaito has a larger number of spells to mess around with, allowing better decks to be built from his pool. David picks Kaito. Predator Plants Yuri writes, I believe in a duel between these two, Ryo's deck is far inferior to Kaito's. I feel this way after multiple tests with these decks against each other, with two people who use these decks as their main decks regularly. The problem with Ryo's deck is old GX fusions are too much of a minus to hand with not enough payoff. Kaito's deck, on the other hand, has boss monsters that have much more recent and powerful effects, such as number 62 and Neo Galaxy Eye's Photon Dragon. Now, if Ryo was able to use Infinity, he would have a much better chance, but since this is anime only, I have to give it to Kaito due to a more recent and more consistent deck. UZX Crimson Avenger writes, Kaito's Galaxy, Photon, and Ryo's Cyber Monsters are the type of decks that allows both players to swarm the field by the means of special summoning or various card effects. Galaxy Eye's evolved forms may give Cyber End-Dragon a run for its money. With Neo Galaxy Eyes, it has an effect that negates monsters' effects, and Prime Photon can come back to life with its attack points doubled. Cyber Twin Dragon has an effect that'll allow itself to attack twice during each battle phase, stopping Galaxy Eye's summoning momentarily. As for Cyber End, it has an effect that allows piercing damage. If Cyber Dark is played, it can equip itself with a Dragon-type monster, but if Cyber End somehow defeats Galaxy Eyes, it'll just come back stronger with a new form. Both decks have powerful ace monsters, but Kaito possesses some of the number cards that'll still give him the edge, so the winner goes to Kaito. So there is the final tally. Thanks again to the expert panel. Thank you guys so much. Please check their channels and pages out down below, but as you can see, Kaito dominated the panel, winning 6 votes to Kaiser's 1. Therefore, Kaito Tenjo is our second fantasy duel winner, winning the anime category and the decks category. I know most of the content in these videos are opinions, and whether you agree with what myself or the panel said, or you completely disagree with us, I still hope you enjoyed the video regardless. Please let me know your thoughts on all 3 topics. Who would win in real life? Do you agree with the panel? Do you think I overpraised Ryo in the manga and maybe Kaito would have won in the manga? Or maybe you think Kaiser would pull off a victory if he faced Kaito in the anime? Please let me know down below. You know I love hearing from you guys, and I will talk to you in the comment section. The next fantasy duel options are available to be voted on. Please head to my site, link is in the description, to vote and decide on the next fantasy duel. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you have a great day and a fantastic holiday break. Thank you for watching.